5 most important things to pay attention to in order to have a successful backyard chicken flock. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Art of Creation Homestead. My name is Jason, and we're going to talk to you today about something that's very near and dear to my heart, Angela Kay's heart, my wife, that is. So it's 5 most important things to pay attention to in order to have a successful backyard chicken flock, okay? There's a lot of things that people may overlook. Maybe you're a chicken beginner, so we could say that it's the 5 most important things for beginners of backyard chickens, right? Something of that nature. But this is it's very important to pay attention to some of these details. And maybe you don't know about this, maybe you do, and that's okay. But like these are things that's really going to help you, have success with backyard chickens, to not have as many disappointments with your backyard chickens, and also not have as many dead backyard chickens. Okay? I really believe that one of the most important things is just simply this: their feed. You gotta make sure they have a good feed. A good feed's gonna give you good success. We've learned that, and we thought we had good feed. We didn't have good feed, but now we do have good feed. But also, when you have that good feed, it's also good to make sure that you have good grit. Grit is a very important thing. It helps them break down their food. See, chickens don't have teeth, right? And so they eat this grit, these sharp objects, okay? Like that. They eat that grit, which is essentially just rocks. They eat those rocks, and it stays in their gizzard, okay? So it gets in their gizzard, and it bounces around in there and breaks down the food so they can then digest it properly. We use a brand right now, it's called Cherry Stone Grits. It seems to be just fine. That's not my favorite grit, okay? It's the grit we can find. My favorite grit is one, it's called Granite Grit, okay? Most of these grits, these really good grits, are produced by granite manufacturers, people who are cutting granite out of the earth, and these shards of rock are the scraps from the granite that they're cutting out. Granite Grit is from Mount Airy, North Carolina. Hey, go figure. Boom, right? But I'm not in North Carolina, just from there. But Granite Grit is from Mount Airy, North Carolina. It's from a big granite quarry there. And Cherry Stone, I'm not really sure. We just started using them because we've just now been able to not get Granite Grit. But Cherry Stone Grits seem just fine. They're all the same. They're all from manufactured granite, but I mean they seem to be good as well, as long as it's a good grit. You can find grit from Tractor Supply or any of your feed stores. They may just not be as good. Who knows? And personally, they're going to be overpriced. That's another thing too. But they're going to be overpriced. But that's a good bag of grit. You can get these grits in 50-pound bags. Okay, so you can get enough grit for a while. I just take it when I mix my feed, take some handfuls of grit, mix in there with the feed, and it's good, right? But when I say mix in my feed, there's a reason I say mix in my feed. It's because another good thing that we do is to put diatomaceous earth in their feed. Diatomaceous earth, okay, is the best food grade diatomaceous earth you can get. It's just a really light powder. It's like a consistency of flour, okay? Diatomaceous earth is just a fossilized material, okay? It's been ground up into a powder. It's naturally occurring, and at least food grade is, okay? Food grade diatomaceous earth is, and it's perfectly safe and healthy, and it's a natural dewormer for your chickens. Okay, so it's like if you had to deworm your chickens, then you're gonna, like with a medication, then you can't use their eggs for a while. Okay, diatomaceous earth is something you can mix in just a little bit into your feed, and more than anything, it's a preventative measure too. Just mix in some of your feed. So if you take your food, just dust some on top, mix it, right? Mix in your grit, mix in your diatomaceous earth, and you really shouldn't see diatomaceous earth in it. Okay, it shouldn't look like it's been white and powdery. You don't need that much. Okay, but just mix a little bit in with your feed. Just mix it in so it kind of coats all your food, and it's good. And we did not do that when we first had chickens. Okay, I want to be very, very clear. We did not do that at first. I was skeptical of diatomaceous earth at first, but we had some issues with one of our original flock, you know, almost, it was over 7 years ago, and we didn't know what was going on. So, hey, well, let's start using this. So we did that, and it dewormed them. One of them had worms. We didn't understand how she could have gotten worms. I guess she just ate something that gave it to her. Who knows? Chickens eat crazy stuff sometimes. But so that helped. we've used it ever since, and we've had a much healthier flock ever since as well. And then the last thing about their feed is oyster shell. We keep oyster shell inside the coop, free choice. And these little 2-side containers you can get at Tractor Supply. They'll scratch into their pine shavings and whatnot. It's perfectly okay. But this right here, see? Look, all oyster shell does is it gives them calcium, right? I guess it's probably good. It probably could be considered a grit type material too, but they just don't eat it as often as they would need their grit. But oyster shell, which you can find in large bags at any Tractor Supply, or you can find it in large bags from like where I buy my feed from, New Country Organics. You can also get oyster shell from them, okay? So in a larger bag, at probably a better price. So, but it just gives them calcium, okay? They need their calcium to help produce more consistent eggs, also, but harder shell eggs, okay? They need that calcium for their shells. And if they do not have that calcium, and you never give them oyster shell, and they don't have enough calcium in their feed, then they're probably going to start eating their eggs because they need the calcium from the shells. Okay, the chickens will find what they need. If there's something they do not have in their diet, they will find it. If they need protein, they will start eating their eggs for protein. Or if they need calcium, they'll start eating their eggs for the calcium. So be aware. That can be a big problem, and it's going to be hard to break them from that as well. So do this first, right? Get this stuff done right first. Second most important thing is clean, fresh water. This is one of our waters right here. We have multiple. We have 2 waters, but this one's just the simplest to take care of right now. And it just needs to be clean and fresh. And in the hottest days, okay, in the hottest of hot days, you know, make it cold fresh water. And in the coldest of cold days, make it warm fresh water. Here in Southwest Ohio, we get both of those. We get the coldest of cold. Well, not the coldest of cold. You know, we're not like New England states, but we're not like the deep south in the heat. But we do get over 90, up towards 100 possibly, and we can get well below 0. So if we get both extremities, and it's good to have cold water and warm water for those days. Also, something we like to add to our water, but I pretty much just do it on the weekends. You can do it whenever. Some people do it every day. I just do it kind of on the weekends. Is this Bragg apple cider vinegar, organic unfiltered apple cider vinegar with the mother in it. It don't have to be Bragg. Bragg's just the best brand, and I got that gallon super cheap. But that's really good for their gut health, their immune systems, and everything else. They really need something like that just to keep them a little healthier, right? You're just looking to keep them healthier, make them live longer, happier, right? So apple cider vinegar, organic unfiltered with the mother in it, is really good for that. You can get other brands. There's several brands. There are probably different brands in different regions of the country, and it's just really good. Again, I'll just use, I think you're supposed to use maybe a tablespoon per gallon, okay? I just kind of take up my gallon waters and just put a splash in there, fill it up with water, okay? It mixes in just fine, and the chickens actually like it. It's not, it ain't like you trying to drink vinegar. They actually enjoy that. And also, just make sure they're clean. Sometimes, look, your waters are going to get a little green algae on them or something of that nature. It's okay. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. Get it cleaned off. It can even stay on there for a little bit, but don't let it last too long. Don't let it go too long. Clean it off, okay? And just to clean it off, simply get a little cheap brush, a cheap cleaning brush. Scrub it down. It'll be just fine. But keep it clean, because you know, if they're drinking water that has this sitting with algae in it, you know, they're drinking bacteria somewhere or another, and that's just not good for them. They can handle it. They're strong. They can handle things more easily than we can, okay? Because I wouldn't want to drink that, and it'd probably make me pretty sick pretty fast. Their systems are pretty stout, but there's no reason to test that, right? So take care of that as best you can, and your chickens will be much happier for that as well. And the third most important thing is a clean coop. They need a clean coop. We use pine shavings in our floor, and they're good to go for quite a while. And this probably needs clean, but it's still no ammonia smell. Tootie, are you going to take over? Sorry, Tootie's trying to take over. But but clean coop is very important, okay? They need basically no ammonia smell. You're gonna get some ammonia smell sometimes. It's just part of having chickens. Ammonia smell means it's their manure. Okay, you may not be aware of that. Their manure is high in ammonia. That smell is coming from just the manure. Pine shavings, we like to use just the basic flake pine shavings from Tractor Supply. There's all kinds of brands across the country that are just fine, but some may break down too fast or whatever. Just personal preference and whatever works well for your chickens. But we just use basic stuff, and we just put them down. We use enough to cover a good thick layer, because they're going to scratch them out, they're going to break them down, they're going to put them where they want them, and we need to make sure that there's plenty in there. And so just the shavings will help to absorb the manure, which helps absorb the smell. And also in the wintertime, it's no moisture, because the moisture in the wintertime is your enemy. Okay, that is a fact. It's really bad for, like, in the coldest of weather. Moisture will give frostbite on their combs and their wattles, and that's really harmful to them, or painful at least, right? But a good amount of pine shavings and a clean coop is going to cut down on that. Another product we use to help us achieve that method of breaking down their manure is this. It's called Sweet Peat Easy. It's actually found in the horse section of your feed stores. But all Sweet Peat Easy is zeolite. It is the same substance that is in these really expensive canisters from Mana Pro called Coop and Compost. Okay, the Mana Pro makes those canisters. It calls it Coop and Compost because it helps break down their manure, helps break down the pine shavings. It helps neutralize any odors in your coop and dry things out. Okay, which is a wonderful product. We use that. We clean the coop out. We'll use that and put it in there. But Coop and Compost is super expensive. Sweet Peat Easy is not near as expensive. Coop and Compost costs you about 10 bucks for a 2-pound canister, I think is what it is. Sweet Peat Easy is going to cost you about the same price for a 25-pound bag. So we just take that, put it in our own canister, spread it out, and it's much more financially efficient, and it works really well. So that's a good product to use, as well as diatomaceous earth inside of the bedding. What diatomaceous earth does is that it basically like eliminates it helps to eliminate the possibility of getting mites or other parasitic insects inside of your bedding, because that's a big issue, as parasites, right? And it gives their skin an overall health as well, because they'll take dust baths and they'll have the diatomaceous earth inside their dust baths. Okay, right, which is another part of having good pine shavings and good clean coop, is that it gives them a good place to have a dust bath, and that's good for they need that for their overall health. But also, I'll tell you, we have a video called Flies in the Chicken Coop, or No More Flies in the Chicken Coop, where Angela makes a natural fly spray for your chicken coop that works really well. So if you want to watch that video, we might link it somewhere in the description or above us, or above my head here. It's really important to eliminate flies at your coop, because if they happen to have some poop stuck on them somewhere, or start having issues with flies, or like on their butts, start having flies come up, and like it can cause something called fly strike, which is not super common, but it does happen. And it happens if you have a dirty coop with a bunch of flies. So that's another thing too, is make sure you eliminate flies. So we have a good natural fly spray recipe for that in this video, okay? And the fourth thing is just check their health care. Just keep them good and healthy. And there's 3 things I want you to look at for that. First one might sound weird, but you gotta check their poop. Make sure their poop is normal looking, okay? It shouldn't be consistently watery and runny, and it shouldn't be like really dark all the time either, okay? Just be normal poop. I think you've seen normal chicken poop and what it should look like. So if their poop doesn't look normal, that's a problem. If you think they might have worms, it will come out in their poop, so you can check their poop for that. Sounds kind of creepy, but you're gonna see a lot of chicken manure. If you have chickens, you're gonna see a lot of manure. So just look at it and see if it looks normal or not. You ain't gotta touch it in your fingers and inspect it like that. Just look at it, take a gander at it, right? Make sure it's okay. Another thing is, hold on a second, is this. Check them chicken feet. Tootie didn't like that, but she wants to stay on the camera, and Tilly's biting the other side. But check their feet. Make sure their feet don't have any abrasions, bruises, any kind of lumps like things. Make sure they're not cut up. The feet tells you a lot about their health too. They can get like something called bumblefoot, which is basically an abrasion with an infection on their foot. Okay, so check their feet. Make sure their feet are healthy, because that's a big deal. It's kind of silly for chickens, but there's some things there's some things that are very important. That shows you, kind of gives you a window into their health. Okay, so their feet and their poop are very important. Also, under their wings. I'm not going to grab one because it's hard to do it with one person holding the camera, but check under their wings. So that's where you're going to find mites at. Okay, so that's where you're going to find parasites, is under their wings. So you just lift one up, look under the wings, see if you find any little small minute parasites, you know, crawling under there, because that's where you're going to find them. Like red mites, they'll be red, so you'll be able to see them, but you're going to find that under their wings, because they'll go to where there's heat, and that's really harmful on them. And that's another way you can check and make sure they're okay. But also, as well as just looking at their backside, you know, where at their vent is what it's called, where they manure, if there's poop stuck in their feathers. That happens from time to time, but if it's a stinking mess, literally, but if it's mess back there, then they might have a deeper issue going on inside their gut as well. And honestly, the fifth thing, okay, this is the kind of detail, but these are all very important. The fifth thing is just safety and security. Okay, I'm going to take it back up here and let you see our coop. It's the overall coop. Up there, a tree fell on it 6 years ago and caused some damage, but it's okay. But just overall, this process here, we have hardware cloth at the bottom. Okay, hardware cloth is more expensive, so we just use it at the bottom, because that's where a predator is going to try and come in at, is, you know, through the outside, is there or digging under. And we dug under and put some hardware cloth in the ground too. Another thing is a good two-step lock. So this barrel lock is going to slide over and go down, right? And this one, the door's off, is sagging, so you have to lift up. You have to lift up on it to get it to latch. Obviously, you see the distance. And that's really good too, because then it'd be really hard for an animal, which an animal will climb 4 feet in the air. It's kind of difficult anyways, but it's gonna be really hard for an animal to open that lock at all, because raccoons are very smart, and they like chicken. Okay, raccoon will be your biggest predator in the suburbs especially, but a lot of places, anywhere, raccoon's gonna be your biggest issue. They love chicken, and they just kill for sport. So they can wiggle those locks around. So a good tight two-step lock that they can't just unlatch is a lot better. Another thing is just the windows on your doors. Like this right here. This is the inside of our door. It's too thick, right? Hardware cloth here and hardware cloth here, and it's screwed in on the front side with these sheet metal screws. I love those. They're super tight. You can't move these things off. You can't move this wire out of there. And we just did a quick shoddy framework here to keep the hardware cloth pressed in here. This wire is not going nowhere. So make your windows on the side of your coop or out of your door out of that kind of thing. Nothing's gonna rip through that. This right here, this chicken wire, they can rip through that. A mink, weasel, raccoon, probably coyote, any of those vicious things like that, they can rip through that basic flimsy chicken wire. They're not gonna be able to rip through that hardware cloth. So they gotta feel secure. Our chickens know they're secure in here. They come when we let them out in the evenings. They come right back when it's dark, because they know this is home and they're secure here. But also, where they roost at has to be secure. This is a very basic roost. It could be better, honestly, but it's very basic. Like Heidi, she's very basic. But a good place to roost off the ground. They would like it to be higher, but they're safe here. And it needs to be good and wide for their feet. Okay, to press down like this, because a lot of people give you these roosts that are thinner, and they just or like this, and they have to grip. Better for their feet to be flat. And that is simply because it can actually harm their feet to stay clenched like that all night. But also, for like here, the coldest weather, their toes are exposed. All right, their toes are exposed under there when their feet are down like that. But they're not exposed like this, because they're going to squat down and cover those feet with their body and their feathers, and the body feathers are very warm, so that keeps their feet from getting frostbite. So they're very secure that way, very comfortable that way, and very safe that way. But also, kind of safety or security is just how secure do they feel and how safe do they feel to lay their eggs. Like little Madeline here, she's in a box to lay an egg, hopefully. You gonna lay an egg? But it's a good spot, it's secure, right? It's not moving, it's not going nowhere, she's safe there. It's out of the way, nobody's bothering her, and she's gonna hopefully lay an egg. Did she lay an egg? Not yet. That's just a nest egg. Oh, you don't like me today. Nah, she always does that. She don't hate me. But a chicken does need a good, secure place to lay their egg. Somewhere they feel safe, comfortable enough to have an egg, right? To lay an egg. And for me, a good, solid floor to your coop is very important, okay? I understand a lot of people use dirt floors, and there's nothing completely wrong with dirt floors. It's just, unless you have a good barrier outside in the ground, it's gonna be a lot easier for something to dig under into your coop at night. And then they're locked in a room with a predator. They're in trouble, because chickens are not predators. They are prey for most things. They predator bugs and maybe small rodents or little frogs, but they're prey to mammals. Okay, so it's really easy for a dog, coyote, raccoon, skunk. Skunk will kill your chickens. Okay, very easy for all those very good diggers to dig under into a dirt floor coop and just have their way with your flock, and you wind up with a bloody mess in the morning, which is never good. So that's important. We cover our run with chicken wire and with shade cloth. That's very important because it keeps them cool, okay? Keeps the sun from beating down on them too much, and honestly, it keeps aerial predators from being able to see in there. But hawks and eagles or whatever, or owls, they're not getting in my coop, okay? they're not gonna make it in there. But because it's covered and we got a roof on part of it and everything, it's just, they're good. But it's good to have a good covered run if you're gonna have to have a stationary coop. Gives them shade, gives them protection, and gives them protection from the water, even from the harshest of rains, because rain muddies up your run, and then it makes more mess, and then you got the old clean coop issue, right? So that's a whole issue in itself. But a good covered run is very important as well. So there it is, folks. I think I covered it all. I bet you I didn't. Also, you can use electric netting. We use that for around our garden, and I'm sure that it helps keep away anything that wants to come along in the yard anyways. But that's it, folks. I think I covered the basics for us. Well, I bet there's something I missed, but those are all very important things, especially for beginners, but any backyard chicken keeper, to have that have kind of that knowledge and understand, hey, these are things that can help and can cause problems down the road. Because that's the issue here. Was we've been doing this for 7 years. I had chickens when I was a kid as well, and so I've seen things that worked and didn't work, and problems that can arise later, and these things will help avoid those scenarios for you. Okay, so thank you guys so much for watching. We do appreciate it. My name is Jason. This is our Recreational Homestead. We love y'all. God bless you. Goodbye.